Here I am at Trustom Pond Preserve in southern Rhode Island in Charlestown. Here we're looking at an andropogon and a panicum meadow. And there's probably some schizachyrium mixed in, but the andropogon is this really beautiful tall grass. This is big blue stem. And then the panicum grass is the switchgrass here. Both are wonderful grasses. And mixed in, you got your goldenrods. Like this is soldago. This is Euthymia, or flat top goldenrod. This is actually an invasive circium. It's the same. It's Russian thistle. Let me tell you what it is. Give me a second. It's not a thistle. It's a centaurea, or knapweed. That would be Centaurea jossea, or the brown knapweed. These can be kind of invasive on dry roadsides. I've seen entire thickets of them, but they also are quite good pollinator sources, because I've seen bushes that are 5 feet tall and they're absolutely covered with small kind of pink flowers, pretty much in like June or July, but I've seen them bloom all the way throughout the year. So they're not totally awful, and they also feed birds with their little seeds and whatnot. Here we got Elaeagnus umbellata, or the autumn olive, really invasive shrub. This thing is awful. An example of the map, but this is also horrible map design because this is facing south. So while to someone, just visiting, they'll understand this, but it's not oriented north to south, which just kills me, because even though it's like the way, Parkin's over here and you come in like that, it shouldn't be oriented south to north. South should never be on the top. So that's my biggest gripe with this. So these coastal forest lands are made up of red oak, which are these ones, and they're squat. They top out probably at like 60 feet, and you can see that there are many branching. This all used to be pasture, so that probably plays a significant part of it. You also got Acer rubrum. You have Quercus alba. It's a white oak right there. That's a Prunus serotina, or a black cherry, which are quite rare to find in, significant numbers in inland areas. But along the coast, you can find forests where they can make up to half or more. Usually always mixed in with red oak. That's what this marcescent one is. Marcescent meaning it still has leaves in the winter. Also present in vast quantities and is super common in these coastal habitats is Smilax rotundifolia, the roundleaf green briar. Pretty much spiky and forms this impenetrable ground cover. And then we got the arrowleaf viburnum right here, or arrowwood viburnum, sorry. White flowers in June, blueberries in July, and kind of reddish orange foliage in the fall. It's a great pollinator plant, and that's one of the kind of, not dominant shrubs, but shrubs that is present in this area. This area is one of few coastal woodlands in the area, in southern Rhode Island more or less, that are kind of right, within, a mile from the coast. And that's mostly due to people loving to live near the coast. And so they take all this forest down and just put these dense McMansion neighborhoods and beach cottages and lawns. So you kind of lose all this. Nice black cherry right there. Look at that. This is a nice red maple. Beautiful. Not too old, but I love it. Such a wide canopy spread. One of my favorite parts about this preserve is the beautiful multi-stem trees, which is pretty common along the coast. But it also could be due to the history of this area being pasture. Example of what Smilax rotundifolia does in these understories, it more or less becomes the dominant plant and forms everything that you see. That's this kind of green color, this green haze. That's all Smilax rotundifolia, or dominated by the Smilax rotundifolia. Also present is the arrowleaf viburnum and Vaccinium coriambosum, or the high bush blueberry. Actually, no, this is actually a lyonia. You can see that's a lyonia by these little seed capsule things. But they're not similar, but they're related to the high bush blueberry with a similar growing pattern. But now that I kind of look at them, they have a much lighter bark. And of course, different flowers. These are all just kind of little white urn-shaped flowers, and they don't form a berry like the blueberry does. Here's the high bush blueberry, that Vaccinium coriambosum. You can see that its branches are a lot more red, and the bark is darker, and also you have the presence of these suckers, which appear green or red. And but they do have a very similar kind of arching vase-shaped habit, like that lyonia did. We have a few more here, and right there. Present is Ilex opaca with the American holly. It's evergreen holly, and it becomes more common as you reach the eastern part of Rhode Island, as well as the Massachusetts area, like southeast Massachusetts, the coastal area. There you have it, American holly. Closely on the branches of all these trees, you can see the effect of the coastal humidity with all the lichens just coating. And those are the fuzzy ones are all in the genus Usnea, or the beard lichens. You can see that the bark on a lot of these trees is also pretty lichenous, but that goes with a lot of New England forests. But especially the top, the canopies, just get filled with Usnea. That's what makes them look shaggy. Like, look at the branches on this red maple. We have Emmelanchier, or a serviceberry, a shad bush. White flowers in early spring with these tasty kind of plum-colored berries. Great for birds, great for pollinators. Awesome native tree in the rose family. Ancient serviceberry. Look at that criggly bark. Absolutely beautiful. This one's probably around 100 years old. And that's probably how old this forest is. Maybe 100 or more. But I wouldn't say over 100. Or 150. I wouldn't say over 150. Most of the trees here are probably topping around between 80 and 100. But that serviceberry is definitely an ancient one. Here's another arrow leaf viburnum. And that's viburnum dentatum. That's the species name, viburnum dentatum. Here we have the smilax hedge. We have another Emmelanchier. This is an arrow leaf or arrowwood viburnum. Right behind it, that kind of thick shrub along this other Emmelanchier is a Vaccinium, or the high bush blueberry. We got the black cherry Prunus serotina there. We got the big red oak, which is there. We got a red maple, so you can kind of get the gist of this ecosystem. Look at that, that's a lilium. It's probably Lilium superbum, or the Canada lily. And that one's relatively rare, and it's protected by all these thorns. Usually those get eaten down to nubs by deer. We also have Allegheny blackberry right here, a rubus, in the genus Rubus. I know it's Allegheny blackberry, I just can't remember the genus name on that one. Rubus allegensis, of course. My favorite part about this forest is how open and kind of part sun it is. So there's a lot of gap between the trees, and you got your spare shrubs here and there. You can kind of walk between it. There's all sorts of forbs that grow. And I mean, yeah, you get the vast thickets of the smilax, but you also get stuff that grows within it, like that beautiful lilium. So it's not all bad. I mean, it's actually pretty good, I gotta say. To get seeds of this, and how you get through this kind of thicket mess, you just kind of have to high step your way. I'm putting my damn waterproof ski pants at risk, but I don't need to get too far in. I just need to be able to get one of these seed pods filled with these flaky seeds. Unless they're all, nope, they're still full. I'll grab 2. The rest can stay. You can see, like other lilies, they have these kind of flaky, wind-blown seeds in there. You can kind of see one. See that? So I'm going to try to start these at home, because these are kind of rare, and you do not find them in garden centers. There's the seeds right there. So I'm going to do my best to try to start them. Interesting aspect about this forest ecology is the presence of the herbivorous white-tailed deer, which nibs the top of these greenbriers and kind of cuts them back before they form these dense hedges, allowing other stuff like the Pennsylvania sedge and a few other low-growing plants to thrive This also, like, it provides food for the deer, because if those weren't there, the deer would just be mowing everything down. I mean, this habitat should look a little different. Fire was part of the landscape here. So my guess it should be a lot more open with a lot less of the rubus. And there's also a very high population of deer in this area, being about like 20 a square mile when it should be about 5. So due to, getting rid of their, predators and, lack of people hunting, just kind of leads to that overpopulation mess, not to mention, loss of habitat. So our natural areas get hit even harder by the deer. Look at, you got the old umbel of the arrowwood viburnum. But anyways, that's my 2 cents on it. The reason why a habitat like this is so open is due to frequent coastal storms that kind of tears them down. And so it's always in a kind of perpetual state of disturbance, allowing, sapling trees to grow and preventing, preventing the forest from becoming like a deep shade environment, which a lot of forests are. So this kind of patchy forest, being almost entirely native, which is kind of rare, because I've seen patchy forests before and they're filled with invasive vines. Like the vines grow on that, instead of being like bittersweet, it's all like grapevine and whatnot, which isn't terrible. I mean, there is some invasives like this Lonicera, not japonica, but probably Moroi, you know what I mean. The Morrow's honeysuckle, bush honeysuckle, invasive. So these, I've seen a couple of them, but I haven't seen it like in dense patches like it is at some other places. I have Rust typhina, or staghorn sumac, and you can tell it from the wing sumac by the fuzziness of the well, you can tell from the fuzziness of the branches. You can see they're minorly hairy. They have a little bit of hairs on them, and this is especially prominent on the new growth. Sorry, branch, but you can see that on this branch right here, all that fuzz. And the leaves are much different. And there's your seeds, as the birds absolutely love. Beautiful flowers in the spring, or kind of like mid to late summer, midsummer. And beautiful dark red foliage. And it's a part sun type of tree. Needing, it can't tolerate the shade, but it can tolerate sun and part sun. Beautiful Nyssa sylvatica with the black tupelo, and they're more common in swamps or in these coastal forests. And down the way, I'm going to show you one of the most beautiful phenomenon I've seen that happens with these trees in kind of rocky shore areas. But they need kind of wet feet, and this is right by the pond. To get these big shrubby amelanchier kind of thickets, you get many stem maples like that one in there. You get some kind of squiggly multi-stemmed red oaks. This is another red oak here. More tupelo with the multi-stems. Very sour berries. Look, we got the frozen pond here. We got Clethra onifolia here and there. This is a morella, or a bayberry. Here's the fruits on that viburnum right here. More tupelos along this narrow, skinny, rocky neck. I'm not sure what the history of this neck is. Here's your Clethra onifolia. Beautiful as ever. White flowers in the late summer. Smells amazing. And here's that weird phenomenon when they kind of form like this thickety, when it's almost just like a tupelo grove. The way they grow, it's like a bonsai form. Like on this island that I'm going to over there, they're jaw-droppingly amazing. I'll show you. Across the pond, that big tan layer, that's all thickets of Phragmites australis, which is a highly invasive wetland grass that just shades everything out. So that probably used to be diverse, kind of freshwater, almost brackish water wetland, and now it's just like this monoculture of Phragmites. And it's like a management nightmare, and I think it's mostly management nightmares just because nobody wants to put in the work to remove it, which just needs either manual removal or successive years of just cutting it back and letting the native stuff come back. We have Jungus tenuis, or path rush. It's a super common little rush, and it grows on paths. And if it's little seeds feed birds and whatnot, and I'm sure there's a variety of different insects that feed on the foliage, which in turn feed birds. It's a nice little native grass, and this could be a lawn replacement because they're hardy. And they can take a beating, you know, they grow on paths after all. Here we have Athaya americana, or the redhead duck. And maybe a few other ducks. I'm pretty sure it's just redheads though. I am not a birder. That's awesome. We have some Canada geese. Here's those interesting colonies of Tupelo. They form these tightly packed, kind of squiggly colonies. Look at them. We got a whole patch of them over here. This is one of my favorite little patches of forest. Deep shade. Look at that. Growing right on this little peninsula, around this pond. Criggly. That's my word for them. And they grow like this because they're so densely packed. So with time, it'll just be what will remain is a few large trees. You can already see some of them like this one, senescing. See, it barely even has a top anymore. Like a bonsai, look at that. Absolutely beautiful. I guess how you would recreate this is just to buy a bunch of Tupelo saplings and have a wet-ish area and then densely plant them. I'm sure wind probably plays an important factor in how these kind of little forests grow. But man, are they gorgeous or what? You can see the effects of the lowering kind of floodwaters with that kind of ring of ice. So it's been slowly receding. But don't let this ice trick you. This shit is stupid thin. Like slush.